Welcome to our February user group. Justin's going to get us started.
We have some fun, exciting topics. 1099s. Carlene's going to give you a quick update because those have actually been printed and sent out. So we're on to the next phase. We have some archive jobs and then a presentation by DAS Shared Financial Services about making payments with BTs. Some 90 screen information, warrant cancel information, some screen highlights, DAFR highlights, and updates, both from the desk manual, just RStar's training lab, and the Datamart. With that, I'm going to kick it over to the incomparable Carlene Hancock.
Hi, everyone. Okay, 1099s were mailed last week and have hit mailboxes. I am starting to receive phone calls. So in light of this, SFMS asks that agencies respond as quickly as possible to any requests they receive for research or sending information to the vendors as to why and what if I cannot answer the question. And please also, please consult the agency calendar on our website regarding upcoming printings of changes. Just so you know, the number of sent out in the mail were the miscellaneous were 1,435 and NEC were 7,423. I really appreciate everyone's help in getting these out and getting them out in a timely manner. And look forward to working with you in the future. Any questions on the reporting or upcoming printing? If not, I'm going to send you over to Juan, and he's going to talk to you about payment control and cancel archive.
Thank you, Carlene. Payment control, cancel archive. The payment control, let me move this here. Okay. The payment control and cancel archive is an annual job that removes information from RStar's payment control and payment cancel tables that is no longer needed. Payment transactions with an issue date earlier than July 1st, 2023 are the focus of this archive. The kinds of transactions to be archived include all expired warrants, cancel and stopped warrants, paid warrants with status P, paid payments with payments and status R. The payment control and cancel archive will be on Thursday, February 19, 2026. SFMA does not need to be closed during the reconciliation process and will be available as usual on Friday morning, February 2026. The agencies have no responsibility, but please notify your SFMS agency analyst if you observe any anomalies. The screens involved in this project are screens 44 and screen 47. Any questions? There's no questions. The next is Alan. He will talk to you about financial archive. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan. Okay, good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Alan, and my topic today is the upcoming financial archive. This year's financial archive will run on Friday, April 24th, after the normal nightly batch cycle. There should be no downtime on that Friday. On Saturday, April 25th, the RStar's IT file will be closed while SFMS works on validating the archive. On Monday, April 27th, SFMS will not run an expedite cycle at noon. The RStar's IT file will be closed while we complete our validation of the archive. We plan to run a batch cycle Monday night. We will open the IT file as soon as possible and send out an SFMS news once the system is open. Excuse me. The Datamart is also archiving SFMA data on Monday. Agencies will be able to query OSPS data through the Datamart, but cannot query SFMA data on Monday. So when the RSTARS IT file is closed, you can view and update profile screens, use the financial inquiry and the drill down screens. You cannot create, edit, or release batches. So the Financial Archive impacts 13 RSTARS screens and the underlying tables listed here. So 8 tables retain capital construction or retain records protected by capital construction, and 5 tables do not retain any capital construction records. For example, the cash control table, which is the RSTARS 63 screen, does not retain any capital construction records. The inactive accounting event table, which is the RSTARS 84 screen, does retain capital construction records. I'll walk through an example of a protected record in just a few slides. The records that are archived from 7 of the RSTARS tables are moved to the Datamart for an additional 2 years. Those 7 tables are easy to identify in OB as they all begin with the name SFMS-archived. So here's an example of an older transaction that is not archived because it is protected by capital construction for this agency. So we need to look at the D23 Fund 4674 to see that the associated appropriated fund is a capital construction fund. The appropriated fund for this D23 fund profile is 3020. Any appropriated fund that ends in 20 are capital construction funds. So we have 3020, 4020, 6020, and 8020. Those are the 4 capital construction funds. So this centrally maintained profile protects AY 2013 capital construction records from being archived. This profile is reviewed every 2 years and may be updated based on the effective end dates of this agency's appropriation profiles, 20 screen. So this chart shows the summarized record counts from the 13 financial tables involved in the Financial Archive. So last year we archived almost 17% of the records in the financial tables. There are a lot of records in the financial tables, and if we were not doing an archive every year, we would have millions more records. So it would be a lot of data in our system to slow things down. Does anyone have any questions on the Financial Archive? All right. Next up is Amber to talk about the Profile Archive.
Well, good morning. I get to talk to you guys about another archive, and I'm third, so please still listen. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Profile Archive today. So what is the Profile Archive? It's the biennial job that moves out the unused and unnecessary profiles that are in our system. It helps us because then the server space is minimized, but also there's just less profiles for you guys to search through. So when does that occur? This year it's going to be Thursday, May 28th, and then it always is going to run in our even numbered years, while the profile roll that automatically creates the new profiles for all the agencies, that runs in our odd numbered years. So what is the criteria for the profiles to be archived? Because we have a certain set of information. We don't just archive all of them. So the AY profiles that are less than or equal to 2021, we're going to archive those. We're going to archive FY profiles that are less than or equal to 2022. And then we're also going to archive our effective end date profiles that are less than or equal to 6/30/2022. But let's talk for a second about profile status and capital construction records. The Profile Archive is kind of cool in that regardless of the profile status, unless a period has retained capital construction records, it's all going to be archived. So if there is capital construction records, we're going to keep everything for that section, but we will archive whether it is, regardless of whether it's active or inactive. And so when we say AY and FY profiles, let's talk a little bit about what we're talking about. So AY profiles are like the 20 appropriation number profile or the 21 index PCA relationship, or even just the 26 PCA. There's a full list on the slide there if you wanted to look through all of them. And then with FY profiles, there's just a couple. So the 25 agency control, that's your D23 fund and your D73 cash fund. They are set up as FY profiles. And then we have effective end date profiles. And so remember, we're gonna archive everything for AY or FY. But SFMS will only archive effective end date profiles that have effective end dates that are less than or equal to 6/30/2022. So we need your help. Please add effective end dates to your profiles that you want archived of less than or equal to that date before May 28th, 2026. If the effective end date is left blank, we will leave them there for you. And those profiles will not be archived, which means there's more server space taken up, and also there's just more profiles that you're going to have to search through. And so we want to make it clean for you, and we want less space on our server. So please take the time to look through those effective end date profiles listed here and add them for those that would be applicable to delete. You can order reports, and that would help in that assistance. You would just use the DAFR queue, and then down in the bottom corner, there's just how you would order those, but you would use DAFR queue, and then if we're talking about the project control, that's the 27 profile, so you'd need to add a 0. Some of our profiles are like D17, and so there's 3 spaces there, and so you would do D17, but if not, 027 and then a 0 at the end, and that can be for any of our profiles. So you could order a report just to look and see, hey, what do I have out there and what needs to be cleaned up? Are there any questions on the profile archive? Up next, we have Carrie Burton from Shared Financial Services, and she's going to go over how to complete payments with balance transfers, or what we would call BTs.
So like she said, my name is Carrie Burton, and I'm going to be going through balance transfers with you today. So a BT, or balance transfer, is when agencies pay another agency by transferring funds directly from one agency to another. This eliminates the need for a paper check or warrant, which ultimately saves the state money. And there are a few items to note about a BT. It's not an instant transfer. Funds will be released and cleared overnight, and the receiving agency should not move the received funds until the funds have cleared the 530 screen. It costs the state roughly $15 each time a warrant is created through AP. So by using BTs when available, you can see that it is a substantial savings. Often the T codes that you should use will be found on the invoice, but the most common T code that we see are the 730, 731 set. Another example of T codes that you might see could be 722, 723, but there are many others. You can use the 28B screen to review T codes. One of the differences between 730 and 722 T codes is that an invoice that uses the 730, 731 set T codes will be found in R-stars when you search, and an invoice with the 722, 723 T code set would not. You can also use the 28A screen for this. An example of the 722, 723 T code might be like a rent invoice that is paid recurringly, and they don't send an invoice to us. We might just pay it on contract every month. So here's an example of an invoice that we might see. First, you want to verify that the state agency you're paying is, the agency that you're paying is a state agency, if you don't already know this. So you would do this in R-Stars, you would use the 51 screen or the 3A screen, or you could use the ACFR contacts list to verify that the agency is another state agency. So with this example of this invoice, it's just a typical maybe invoice that we might see. You can see that it has a unique 8-digit invoice number, and sometimes the BT invoices numbers are longer. And then on the lower 1/3 of this invoice, it tells us what T code to use. Another thing to look at on this invoice is there are multiple suffixes for the 731 side of the transaction that needs to be entered. And then all of those need to be entered separately on their own lines. And then if you ever have questions about an invoice, you should be able to find the billing agency contact provided on the invoice. And if not, then you can reach out to your BT contact. So when you can't find the T code, you need to do some research. And you can use the 86 screen for this. If the invoice has T codes that was used by AR to enter the invoice, you can use that information on the 28B screen to find the T code that you need. Here we used the ART code 199 to look up the BT T codes in the 28B screen, and we found that 730, 731 was the right choice, and you can see that right in the middle of the screen in the red box. You can also email the invoice contact or the BT contact. So how to enter a BT. After you set up the batch in the user class 48, you would pick the appropriate dates, the due dates, the service dates, and then you're going to enter the ref doc and the suffix, and that should be the invoice number from the invoice, and 001 should be the suffix used. And then you're going to enter the agency number. In this example, we used agency 862. And then you're going to enter the appropriate T code, so 730. Then you're going to enter the PCA, the agency object code, the total amount for the invoice, the description, the vendor ID, and the mail code. And then you want to remember that remember that the vendor ID that we're using is the receiving agency. And in this example, as DAS is being paid for the services on this invoice, the vendor and ID mail code we use is for DAS. And then at this point, you would hit F4, and then any remaining information for this invoice would be auto-populated. Some entries would also require additional information, such as project numbers or grant numbers or the G28 information, etc. One thing to note is you can also split out the invoice between multiple 730 lines if it's applicable. So then after you've hit F4, you would hopefully see that there's no errors at the bottom of your screen, and then if none appear, you can proceed. You would hit F10, and then you would be ready for your next line of entry. And it's really important to check for errors because some errors do let you proceed without fixing them. So if there is more than one suffix number, make sure that the invoice total does not get entered on the 731 side as suffix 001. Each suffix will need to be broken down as shown on the invoice, and we'll see an example of that on the next slide. But the information inside the red boxes are helpful tools when entering the BT. On the 731 side, the invoice number should default over from what we previously entered on the 730 entry. So we would only need to update the suffix when it's applicable. If you have more than one line, the agency number, change the transaction code to 731 and enter all other applicable information, which would be probably just the amount. When all of that information is entered, you would hit F4 and then F10. The sending agency information hopefully would auto-populate, and if it does not, you would have to enter that manually. And then you would repeat this for every other suffix that you have. So this shows the invoice with the multiple suffixes in the red box. Each of these would be entered on their own line with corresponding dollar amounts. So the fields to update on the 731 side, in addition to the suffix, are the PCA, the agency object code, the vendor number, and sometimes the fund. Often these are updated automatically when you hit F4. And then you would just repeat this entry process for each invoice suffix. Then when you've entered all of the lines, if you would like to review your entries, you can use F7. That's what, this is an example of that. You would see you can review the completed BT entry from the batch detail on screen 520. And this shows you line by line what was entered. And it's really important to note that the sum of your 730 entries are equal to the sum of your 731 entries, hence the balanced transfer. So after you've entered all of your lines and you're done with F10, you then hit F6 for balancing. And if everything is entered correctly, the screen will show the batch is balanced. So troubleshooting. For most errors, you can hit F1 to get more information about what the error means. And in this instance, we see at the bottom the doc balance negative. And that means that the suffix amount doesn't match what was entered into R-stars. So this could mean a couple of things. You can confirm that the amount from the provided invoice is correct. You could confirm that maybe they updated the suffix when you entered the line, or you could confirm that maybe the invoice is already not entered previously. So after you figure out what the error is and you've corrected it, you have to hit F4 before you hit F10 to clear out the error. And so these are some of the common errors that would fix this. You can also use the 64 screen to look for errors. This screen will show the balance due for each invoice and suffix, as well as adjustments and payments that were made to the invoice. On the left, we see that there is a negative balance because this entry was made for the suffix was the wrong amount. And then on the right, we see the correction and the document balance is now 0. The 86 screen can be used to search the invoice number to see what changes have been made. You can also view invoices for other agencies, but if you're going to do this, you have to use user class 78 when using this screen. And are there any questions?
There was a question, and it's been answered in the chat, but I want to read it out loud just for anyone in the room. And they were just asking if the doc amount would be 0, and then Liz answered it for us in the chat. So she said that all the balance transfer BT should have a document amount of 0 to reflect that they are a two-sided balanced entry.
Yes. All right. And next is Maria.
Okay, hi, good morning. I can claim I have a most fun subject, 90 screen. Magical screen. Everybody will remember this. So, you know how we always, at least me for myself, always think it would be great if system could tell me what's really its needs. And here it is, 90 screen. Will tell you about error codes if it appears during the data entry. You see error codes. Sometimes the description in the bottom of your transaction, it is not clear, or batches is posted and the next day bounce back on 530 screen. You wonder why. You open it. Under bottom of each transaction, there is some error codes. Sometimes it's clear, sometimes it's not. One way is just put your cursor under the error code and hit F1, or just go to 90 screen. You can type 90 on link 2, left-hand side on top of any screen. Just type 90, hit enter, you will be on that magic screen. And you will see good explanation about the error code. What is it? Why happened? And how you can resolve it. And here is as simple as just go to 90 screen. Here's some examples. You can type and hit enter. You will see description about the error code. With F5, you can navigate through the screens. Keep in mind, sometimes explanation can be multi-paged. If that's the case, you will see a word, keyword of the continue. And then as you keep hit F5, you will see the following pages and explanation about the error code. And it's not only error codes. Sometimes you will wonder about the screens, or who managing that screen, or who maintain that screen, or just explanation about any of the screens. Keep in mind, all these screens are come up with 3-digit keywords, S for screen. And if it is descriptive screens like D66, then you will type it here. But if it is not, instead of D, replace it with 0. And then you can see the comprehensive explanation, sometimes even the logic behind the screen. Like I know 64, 63 screen have extra explanation about the formula, how that calculated. Comprehensive information for nerdy and curious people.
There we go. Okay. Oh, and I'm next. I'm going to talk to you about warrant cancels and our new process. So as you may be aware from the SFMS news list, we sent out notification and instructions on our new warrant cancel process. This warrant cancel process makes it to where you do not shuttle warrants to us. It is submitted online and is hopefully more streamlined. So we're just going to go over that real quick. So here is our new form that is out on our website. The required fields are going to be your agency number, the warrant number, the document number, which is the VP, VI, whichever type of document was paid. And then you're also going to need to select a reason as to the cancel. And so that's set up as a radio button, so you can only select one option, just as an FYI for that. But you definitely need to ensure that all aspects of that are completed. And also, too, as you will note at the bottom of the form, it says attach warrant image and sign on page 2. And so those are going to be critical as well. So this is an example of page 2. And so we used some Adobe JavaScript. And so when you actually click on that box, it's going to open the dialog box to browse and select your image on your computer. And then also too, down at the bottom, you will see signature. And in this slide and on the form is attached instructions for how to set up your Adobe Digital Certified Signature. The reason we ask that it be a certified signature is because that gives more security to the signature and authenticity to the signature to ensure that you, as the person submitting the form, are acknowledging your role in the process. With that, then you are able to submit the form once you've completed page 1, uploaded your image, and signed it. So that is done through box.com. And so as I mentioned, your form is completed, it is signed, and then you're going to end up at this site here, and that is going to have your email address, the uploaded form, and then you're going to click submit. So at this time, you do not receive a confirmation email, but as we are exploring the features and capabilities of box.com, we're working towards providing you that notification and information after you submit. So I just kind of wanted to more go over the responsibilities. So for SFMS, when we receive that form, we're going to make sure that it is filled out completely. We're going to ensure that it contains the warrant image. That is key here. And then we're also going to, again, make sure the signature is correct. And we are going to download that form from box.com. And we are going to store that for the required retention period. This means that we are complying with Secretary of State's records retention requirements for the canceled warrant, which is what we did in our old process, because you would send us the original warrant and we would store those in giant boxes and then keep storing them for as long as we needed to. So this moves it to a much easier process there. The agency, for your responsibility, that's just going to be to ensure that before you're submitting that form, you have made sure the form is filled out completely. You have uploaded that warrant image with void written on the check, not stamped over the image. So you're going to want to take a pen and write on the warrant void. And then you are going to want to make sure that your signature is certified. After submission, as an agency, you're going to need to retain that original warrant until it is marked as canceled in RStars. So after it is canceled in RStars is when an agency can decide whether they are going to retain that physical copy for their own records or they are going to destroy the copy. So the reason you want to hold on to that until it is canceled in RStars is because once it is canceled in RStars, that's SFMS taking ownership of the document retention and saying, we have that copy, it is in our digital records, and record retention is met there. So that's the key there, is just hold on to that physical warrant until it is canceled in the system.
Thank you, Justin. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to do our screen spotlight for today. That's where we highlight different screens in RStars to give you more information on how they work. And I'm going to focus on the D36 Agency Code 3 profile. So if you're not familiar with this screen, as Maria mentioned earlier, one way to get more information is to go to the 90 News screen. You can type SD36 and see more information. Basically, what the Agency Code 3 does is it crosswalks Oregon State Treasury account information to RStars. It's used in deposit reconciliation, so if you're familiar with the 13 screen, this is this system's way of tracking that information and matching information. So if you need to set up a D36 profile, it's not that common, but if you set up a new Treasury account, you will need to set up a new D36. SFMS does not set these up for you. This is something that the agency would set up. So the typical process, if you need a new receipted Treasury account, you send an email to the D23 inbox. Carlene will set up the Treasury account and send back the information on what that Treasury fund number is. Then you will go through your process to set up a D23 using that new Treasury account. And then before you set up your PCAs, you want to make sure you set up a D36 profile for that new Treasury account. There's 4 different fields. It's not a large profile. You're going to put your agency in. The Agency Code 3 is always going to have a consistent format. It's going to be 5 digits, the last 5 digits of the account. The title, probably going to be the same as what the OST account name is. Your agency can put whatever title you want. And then the Treasury fund is going to match to the Treasury fund on the associated D23 fund. So if you want to take a look at your D36 profiles for your agency, you can press F5 to scroll through. You see they're always going to follow that same pattern, where the Agency Code 3 is going to be the same as the Treasury fund. There's just a leading 0 in front of it. There are some older ones that have been set up previously, so you may see a few for your agency that don't follow that pattern, but any new ones should be set up that way. So I want to take a moment just to go over some of the relationships to other profiles in RStars. I mentioned the 26 PCA profile. That Agency Code 3 on the D36 is what we recommend in SFMS you enter as your Agency Code 3 on the PCA. We recommend putting that on all PCAs so you don't have to enter an Agency Code 3 every time you code a transaction. When you put the PCA in, it'll look up the Agency Code 3 for you. There's a few PCAs that don't have an agency code 3 if you're never going to record deposit activity with them. We recommend always setting it up even if you don't think you're going to use that for deposits. If you have a suspense account or if it's a PCA that you're only using for accruals at year end, those PCAs may not have an agency code 3. You're never going to have any banking connection there. One question we get somewhat frequently is when you're setting up your PCA, if you set up a new Treasury account and you're putting in your agency code 3 as the last 5 digits, if you haven't already set that up on the D36 profile, you're going to get an error. The system is validating that that agency code 3 exists before you can save the 26 PCA profile. Excuse me. The relationship to the D23 fund profile, as I mentioned, the Treasury fund is going to tie to the D23 fund. You might have multiple D23 funds that use the same Treasury fund. You don't have to set up a D36 every time. We just need one D36 for each unique Treasury fund on the D23. So this is used by the system in 13 screen deposit reconciliation. So we have an example here at the bottom of this slide of the 13 screen. That record that's shown there is what Treasury sends over to RStars each night, showing any deposits that they have in their system. So you'll see that account number on the far left is a 5-digit number. That needs to tie to the agency code 3 for your RStars entry. So for this example on the 13 screen, if you look over a few columns, you can see the SFMS amount is 0. That's because we haven't made our RStars entry yet. We need to make an entry and we need to use a PCA that looks up an agency code 3 that matches that account number. For deposit reconciliation to work, the account number, the deposit number, and the amounts must match before it will reconcile from the 13 screen, and that cash will be made available in RStars. So you're going to see lots of entries that have an agency code 3. It's on your PCA. It's going to be informational for most of those entries, but that agency code 3 is required if you're using any T code that hits GL0065. 0065 is what goes to the 13 screen. So T code 190, I have an example here. It's debiting GL0065. So we would expect to see an agency code 3 on that entry. Now, if you don't have an agency code 3 with a T code 190 entry, or if you have the wrong agency code 3, you're not going to get an error. It's going to let you save the transaction. It's going to let you release it, and you're not going to see an issue until the following day on the 13 screen. And here's what that might look like. If you have an entry that didn't have an agency code 3 on it, didn't use a PCA that looked up an agency code 3, you'll see 2 records on the 13 screen. The first one is your SFMS or SFMA entry with no account number. And then you'll have the second entry, that's the Treasury entry with the account number. So there's no match, you've got 2 records. It looks similar if you use the wrong agency code 3, you'll have 2 records, it'll just show different account numbers for each. So to correct that, you need to back out your entry in RStars and then re-enter it using an agency code 3 that matches to the 13 screen. You can't just, if you had a PCA, you didn't have the agency code 3 on it, you can't just update the 26 PCA profile. It's not going to change what's already posted in the system. Instead, you're going to have to reverse it out with that same PCA. And then we recommend inactivating that PCA and setting up a brand new one. We never recommend changing a PCA if it's already been used to record transactions in that way. So quite a bit of information there. The D36 profile may not be one you're as familiar with, but it's really important, especially if you're seeing unusual records on the 13 screen. That might be the source of the issue, is the agency code 3. We do have more information if you want more on our website. The SFMS desk manual, the deposit reconciliation section, goes over how to set up the D36. It also has a lot more information on how the 13 screen works. Or you can go to our data entry guide. The Chapter 5 descriptive profiles goes through any profiles that begin with D in RStars and tells you what all the fields on those mean. So that's another good resource. Any questions? All right, thank you. I'm not seeing any, so I'm going to pass it over to Scott.
Thank you very much for that, Liz. Hopefully, everyone can hear me and no one's having their ears blasted by my voice. Anyway, my name is Scott Wood. I'll be presenting the DAFR highlight for DAFR 7370 and 7390. First, let's talk about the 7370. It's a monthly activity report for all your funds. And it primarily uses cash balances 0065 and 0070 for reconciliation. It can be used with general fund and lottery funds. I know I just pretty much read the slide, but it's not moving. Let's get into the example. On screen, you'll see the actual report that we were referring to in the last slide. Up top, you'll see that's for the month of November for a specific fund, though that's been blacked out for security reasons. And on the left-hand side, you can see fund number and account number if they weren't redacted. And in the middle, you can see a list of transactions. SFMS transactions are on top. On bottom are the treasury transactions that reconciled with this. Notably, the SFMA transactions are based on effective date, whereas the treasury transactions are based on processing date. So you will see a bit of a reconciliation difference here just because as the SFMA transactions are based on the effective date you typed in and not the date that they actually released, whereas the treasury transactions are based on date of release. Moving on to the DAFR 7390, here we have the monthly activity report for warrants redeemed. You can sort it by treasury fund, transaction code, agency, date, and warrant number. This one is also a pretty straightforward reconciliation report. And here's the example. You can see a list of warrants here. Pretty straightforward stuff. But why did I present both of those reports without going into details on how to order them? Well, that's because their ordering options are very similar. Unlike many other reports, these two reports cannot be filtered by level, which makes perfect sense once you realize they're reconciliation reports and you need as much detail as possible on those reports in order to properly reconcile accounts. So you can't just slice it up for the stuff you want, the stuff you don't want. You need everything on there. But the selection options, you really only have two choices: agency/group number and organization code. Which basically means you're going to be ordering them for your agency and no one else. We do have the option for central reporting to see everything, but that's used internally for our own reconciliations and not for agency use. Frequencies, you can order both of these reports on the date of fiscal month close. They will not print on any other date, or you can send them to monthly and they will print on the date of fiscal month close. They're requestable by all, so you can request them, I can request them. Pretty simple stuff. Just don't try ordering them any other date except when the month is closed. And you can even order prior month reports on that day. Hey, it's just security set up so where that's the only date you can report them, but you can order pretty much any month's report as long as it's still in the system. And we can see on the 91 screen where you find all the fields you can use. In the red box I'm circling right now is the frequency field, where you can put monthly or the specific date of fiscal month close for your report. And on this next box I'm circling on the left That's where you enter your agency number for the report so that you can and make sure that, what am I saying? And you all know your agency numbers at this point. Anyway, for additional resources, please check out the reports guide. Chapter 1 has information on everything you'll need for both of these reports. Just explains the level options and selection options. 7370 explains the monthly transactions report pretty well, and 7390 explains the warrants redeemed report and how to order that. Well, I know we went by quickly. Are there any questions from the audience? Any questions from chat? All right. Well, please come up here, Loretta.
Hi, everyone. My name is Loretta, and I get to talk to you today about some of the changes we've made to the website, more specifically, changes we've made to the SFMS desk manual and the SFMS welcome letter, and also to let you know of some of the upcoming changes we plan on making, and also to get your feedback from you as our users on what changes you would like made or to see happen to our website. On your browser, if you navigate onto SFMS's main page, under Forms and Publications is where you will find the SFMS desk manual. We have a poll here to launch. How many of you currently use or have used the SFMS desk manual? Every day, Maria. So do you want to read some of the answers or the results, Amber?
So we have our poll says, how many of you have used or have used the SFMS desk manual? And so daily we have 10%. Once a month we have 44%. I think I've used it at 37%. And then what is the SFMS desk manual at 11%?
11%. Awesome.
So you're finding that 7 responses.
Okay, all right. So for those of you who have not yet used the SFMS desk manual, the 11%, or are probably wondering, well, what is the desk manual? The SFMS desk manual serves as a supplemental data entry guide that outlines procedures specific to the state of Oregon, and it provides instructions for Oregon agencies on the proper use of R-stars in compliance with established state guidelines. On the other hand, we also have on our website the R-stars data entry guide. One of the questions that I asked our senior analysts recently was, what is the difference between the 2 pages on our website and why do we need both? The answer I got that I want to share with everyone is that R-stars data entry guide was developed by KPMG, the designers of R-stars, which was used by various state agencies. And the SFMS desk manual is created by us, by SFMS, to supplement the KPMG information in the data entry guide and to provide Oregon-specific guidance on using R-stars. What are the updates that we've made to the SFMS desk manual? The updates we've made so far is we've reformatted the page. We hope you find the formatting to be easier to view and to navigate. One of the things about the desk manual or on our website in general is there is a lot of information, and some information can be found in multiple places on our website and not just one. We are aware of this and are in the process of consolidating information when necessary, and also to removing materials that are redundant. And in addition to the formatting, we recently updated Chapter 1, which is our welcome letter. The welcome letter is a great resource or a great reference material for new employees. It explains what SFMS is, the services we provide, our general office hours. It also explains what the statewide financial management application, or SFMA, is and how it consists of R-stars. This is very good information to know in the beginning of your career To know that both SFMA and R-stars are used synonymously will save your new employee from confusion right out the gate. All the different acronyms and alphabet soup names can be confusing, so much more for new employees. So we really hope this letter provides the pertinent information for your new employee's success in their new position. The welcome letter also explains where and who you can go to for help. Your agency support analyst can be found on the contact page on our website, which is linked directly on the letter, so the new employee does not have to go searching through the website to go to the contact page. We have it readily available on the letter. And later on during this presentation, I get to also show you the updated SFMS contacts page that Amber, our amazing SFMS web editor, has updated for us. So I'm excited to share that with you all later on today. The letter also explains that in addition to the SFMS contacts page on our website, you can also find who your agency analyst is on the R-Stars 90 screen using keyword news and navigating to page 5. This is the same magical screen we heard from Maria earlier on, the 90 screen, and how it can be a good resource for R-Stars users. Included in the letter too is information about what agencies can do to ensure efficient support prior to reaching out to your analyst. The second page of the welcome letter includes the R-Stars processing calendar. We publish a processing calendar that outlines the schedule for end of month close, report runs, cost allocation runs, and of upcoming trainings. Similar to the contacts page, we have direct links to the calendar, both the PDF and the Outlook version. Are you sensing a theme here? We've added the links to the different parts of our page so the new employee can simply click and from this letter and to simply click to navigate and to help familiarize themselves with the different sections of our website. We also provide on the letter our electronic mailing list. We do encourage state financial employees to subscribe to the mailing list. We communicate to subscribers about meetings, trainings, archives, mainframe problems, and other relevant issues. So if you have not done so yet, we highly recommend that you subscribe to our email news list. And the last part of the welcome letter is information about our training opportunities and describes what each training opportunity entails. And of course, more direct links to the different parts of our website where you would access the different training materials. And last but not least, the welcome letter concludes with the link to our SFMS contacts page where you can go to find the right contact to support you in your accounting role. You can also find a link to the contacts page in the footer of our SFMS site. We've reorganized the contacts page to make it easier for to find the right person. It's now grouped by type of services provided, the area of responsibility or program coverage, and contact details. The contact details includes the name, email address, phone number, and a Teams link. As you scroll down the page, you'll find the various services SFMS provides along with their areas of responsibility and contact information. In the contact section, we've added a link to our Teams channel so you can connect with us directly via Teams instead of scrolling up and down to locate the right contact for a specific program or service. You can use the convenient search feature to quickly find what you need. For example, if you need guidance on closing a treasury account in R-Stars, you simply type treasury in the search box to find the appropriate contact. Or if you're new to the state and don't know who to turn to for help, you can also enter your agency number here, and it will pop up and show who your assigned agency support analyst is. Ongoing update for the SFMS website is the SFMS Desk Manual. This is a really big project, and we do have some of our amazing team members that have set aside or dedicated time to work on getting the manual updated for our users. And as mentioned earlier, our website holds a lot of information. Some are redundant and or can be sporadic, and we want you to know that we are working on this to consolidate the information provided on our website, and we're removing materials that are outdated. Upcoming updates is a new calendar page, and an update some of you may have heard about or maybe you're a part of is the Digital Accessibility Project. The state of Oregon is currently working toward compliance with a federal ruling on accessible web content and applications, and this is to be completed by the end of this April. And this will result in SFMS making changes to our website, and we'd really appreciate your patience as we work through these mandated changes. An update we made just recently this week is we've removed the HTML versions of the training manual and the data entry guide. The HTML versions will be replaced with PDFs that have quick links to easily click and navigate to the section you want to get to, similar to the HTML version. As we go through the process to make our website accessible, we are making changes to our website, and we hope to incorporate your feedback and ultimately make it more useful for you as our users. On this slide, you will find a link to our feedback survey. Please take a moment to share your thoughts and to help us improve.
Thank you, Loretta. Please take our survey about the website. We do want to make it as accessible for you as we possibly can. And so please take that. I get to talk to you again, and I get to talk to you probably about one of my favorite subjects, is the R-Stars training. And we have a little bit of time, so we're ahead of schedule a little bit. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about the R-Stars training. If you have never taken the R-Stars training, you're like missing out on one of the coolest things. Basically, like opportunity missed. But for real, our R-Stars training labs is what I'm going to talk about today. But our R-Stars training in general is an opportunity to practice the accounting transactions that we do in R-Stars for the state in an environment that's you're not going to mess up any bills. That's really cool. But also, it's real. It's real actual practice in a training environment. And I don't know if anybody's noticed, but R-Stars is a black and green screen, and it is not like any of the other tools that I use in my everyday life. And so R-Stars, I've decided, is like a spreadsheet, and it's not going out of style. It is awesome, and it is a great way to process our state accounting activities, but it is different than what we normally use. And there's a whole bunch going on behind the scenes, and the R-Stars training is going to try and explain some of that and why you put this number here and you press an F command key and it takes you here, and what the system is doing behind that. And so when you start in R-Stars training, you have to do lessons 1 and 2, and maybe that's the courses that you're coming for. You're going to enter payables, but maybe not. Maybe you are one of our higher accountants, and you're thinking, I'm never going to enter payables. Please slowly go through those first lessons, because we're going to give you information, not in one way, but in multiple ways, to try and help you understand how to move through our system and what our system is doing. And so they're foundational to understanding why you might put a 3-digit code as a T code, or how you might find information and how you might get to places like the 90 screen, or as we saw in the transaction entry, how you might find information to put there. It's going to go through a whole bunch of those things, and there's a ton of information in R-Stars that's accessible to you as a user while you input transactions. And the R-Stars training is going to show you how to do that and where to find it. And when you get stuck, you're not stuck in production. And that is really, really great. But we did want to talk today just a little bit about our R-Stars virtual labs, because we have changed them up a little bit. And labs are awesome because you get to connect in real time, but learn at your own pace. So they are Teams meetings, so you can block them off on your calendar, which is great because we are all busy and have lots of work, but need some time blocked off to work on our training. And they are designed for self-paced learning and working on your independent work, but also in a collaborative setting. So there are other people in the Teams meeting working on their training as well, but they can ask questions, and I will be in the training all day with them. So instead of getting stuck and then having to send an email and hope that I respond quickly enough before R-Stars kicks you out, you just turn on your microphone and say, hey, Amber, I have a question, and we can share screens and we can work through it. Or maybe you're working on the training and you're like, I do not understand why it's having me do this. Or, hey, I've always wondered this. why is R-stars like this? I will attempt to give you an answer or find you an answer if I don't have one, but it's just an awesome way to work on your training, but also get answers quickly and then listen to the questions that other people answer. I'm one of those people that I love it when other people ask questions because I don't always ask them myself, but I need the answers. But we have changed it to a new format because we know that most of you are busy, and in order to get your R-stars training done, or that's maybe something that you wanted to do, but all day sitting in a lab with me is not something that you can make happen on your desk. Not many of us can spend 8 hours just working on training during the month. So they're all now just one course. There used to be a first lab and a second lab offering. It's all under just the one R-stars virtual lab. And then there are options of attending a 3-hour segment. So we have broken it up you can attend from 9 to noon and you can block off that time. You could attend in our afternoon session from 1 to 4. Or if you want to do all day, I love it. I'll be there all day, so I would love to have you all day. But you can choose the option then that fits best for your schedule. And so we want to make the labs more accessible for all of you to attend and to go through that training because it really is valuable. I used R-stars before I was assigned the training for myself and learned so much through the R-stars training of what was actually happening and why our system did what it did. So if you have never signed up, you first have to have R-stars access. If you're not normally using R-stars and you don't have access, that's the first step. And then enroll in the training program in Workday, and then send me your access form and I will get you access to the training region. And then of course, just log into Workday and select a lab offering. All right. And now we have Aaron with a Datamart update and then time for you guys to ask him questions.
Hello, I'm Aaron Wallace, and this is the Datamart update. Just want to big shout out to SFMS for letting me come here and actually speak to you guys a little bit about what's going on. There is a lot of changes. Well, let's get into some updates. First, we'll start out with, as I hope you all have been aware, that yes, we are moving away from OBIEE and transitioning to a new query tool. Now that is moving to Power BI Desktop. That is going to be our main tool. But not to worry, OB will still be around through December of 2027. So just under 2 years left. And to clarify, only the tool is changing, not the Datamart itself. So nothing is changing in the Datamart, just another tool to access it. Okay. And then by the end of 2027, which is not too far away, I urge you to just do your best to prepare for that transition, because once we shut that down, you will not have access to any of the files in OB at all. So you want to make sure, do some screenshots, maybe do some exporting of the stuff that you have now. The criteria and the filter sections are huge if you get those. I definitely transition those into another file, maybe Word, whatever, just to have that. So even if you can't create your stuff right now, because I know we don't have all the time in the world, is that you can at least have that stuff mapped out for queries in the future when you build those in whatever program that may be. So next up is, Power BI Desktop. You want to get into it, you want to check it out, and I highly recommend checking out first the Datamart website. As you will find a lot of instructions out there, our guides are all in there, and then go to Workday Learning for the actual training sessions. I'm trying to put out more trainings as quickly as possible, but we have a few out there you can check out, but definitely the getting started, the joins, and some of the others, as well as the latest one I highly recommend you get out there and check out, is the Intro to Power Query. That presentation is just great, and I highly recommend you check that out. I also have a common questions document out on the website, which you should check out as well. That may answer a question or two that you've been wondering about. It's a good document to check out. And then also we have a new Power BI options and settings recommendation for you to review as well. So if you go out on the website, click on that, And that'll let you know what settings you should change behind the scenes so that your data will be grabbed quicker. And we checked with Microsoft on this, so it's a good guide, a good recommendation. Now, I do know that some agencies set it up, their IT staff has set it up where you can't actually change the settings in a program. So you just have to ask them to please allow you to do that. All right, just a quick update on our timeline. This is what's going on currently. Now, of course, this is subject to change at any moment, but for right now, again, I wanted to let you know back on January 8th is when I actually put out the Intro to Power Query training. And that is just a wonderful training. It was actually created by David Drummond over at DHS. He did an amazing job, and he walks you through transition from OB to even Excel and Power BI. So if you have either of those you want to transition to, great. He does just a really good job of giving you some tips and tricks, and I just highly, highly recommend check that out. Really good stuff. Next up, by the end or late February, we want to provide users with a document and training on what is called the workspace. Now, that is actually the place where we're going to be housing our new repository files. And I'm still currently working on that, but it will be done soon, and I'll send that out over the news list, so definitely check out for that training and documentation. And then by the end of March, we want to provide you with instructions and training on formulas. I know formulas are always a big topic and very difficult, and there's a couple of different types of formula kind of creation in Power BI. So we'll definitely have a training on that and documentation. Then by June 30th, 2026, we plan to provide users with the DAFR and the CIFA queries in the new query tool. But we haven't decided yet if it's going to be in Power BI or Excel, just depending on what management decides. But I do want a big shout out to SFMS for helping create those kind of queries, as they're working on those currently. So that'd be good. But it'd be nice. You'll have OB for your normal reporting, but then you'll also have another tool to look at those files as well. Also in June 2026, we plan to officially stop taking work requests to update OB's RPD. And the RPD is just really the behind the scenes of OB. And so we do a lot of stuff for you already behind the scenes. You don't have to do it at all. You just go in there and click away. But we'll stop taking those requests because, of course, the product's going away soon enough. So we'll stop doing those. But we will still take work requests on updating Datamart or Power BI. So definitely send those in if you have any great suggestions. Love to see them. We do have a form out on the website that you can fill out and request any kind of updates. The last item on the list there is by the end of 2027, yes, December, we plan to shut down OB. And as I said kind of earlier, we're going to move our full support to Power BI, but also once that's shut off, you are done. You can't go back in there at all. So definitely check all your files that you have in there and make sure that you've moved them forward, at least documented what they need to be looking like, because you won't be able to get in there. But I want to assure everybody success on this, and if you have any questions, just reach out to me. I'll be happy to help anytime. I just want to make sure that everybody's moving forward well, and I know we just don't have much time at all, of course, but reach out as soon as possible, and I'll be happy to help. Now, just to clarify and make sure you're all aware that even with this laid out transition, you as an agency have the choice of what query tool you want to use. You don't have to use Power BI. Yes, we're recommending it. Yes, we're going that way. But if you want, Excel, Toad, Access, Tableau, whatever it is, if that's going to work best for you, then that is what you decide. Go for it. We'll be here to help as much as possible. But just to let you know, if you go to other query tools other than Power BI and somewhat Excel, we don't offer as much support for those. We try and do our best to answer any of those kind of questions, but I'm not an expert in any of those programs like Tableau or something like that. So you'll have to probably be looking at your tech team or whatnot. But feel free, if you feel that those are the best query tools for you, go for it. But if you do pick such stuff like Excel, that is super similar to Power BI and made by the same company, Microsoft. So definitely recommend that, especially if you're looking to go to what I kind of call data dump type of queries, where you just kind of throw a very, very simple table and just a ton of rows of data. Excel is definitely better for that than Power BI. So I know a lot of people, they want it in the end in Excel, but then you build it in something else and then export it to Excel. So why not just start in Excel, right? So it is perfectly fine if you do that. Excel and Power BI both have the same transform data section. It works exactly the same, looks exactly the same, and you can actually build the stuff exactly like you do in either program. So if you feel like, hey, I want to use Excel for this, but I want to use Power BI for this, then great, that's perfectly fine. And what's really cool is that you can actually go behind the scenes in the code and copy and paste the code from Power BI and dump it into Excel or vice versa, and it creates the same query. So that's actually described in the new Intro to Power Query training. So that's another thing I really highly recommend going out there and check that out. It's really neat. So, if you have any problems, you just don't like the way one is working than the other and you want to transition, copy and paste. How simple is that, right? There's a little more to it, but still, they're really great products. They work well together. So definitely just depends on what you need and what you're doing for that. Okay. And really, yeah, that's all I have today. Thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
So far, just one question in the chat. They stepped away, but can you just reiterate where the workspace/repository will be located?
Yeah. So I'm going to have a documentation on that. It's going to go on the website and it's going to come out this month, but I'm also going to have a training on it. So I'll have a Teams training with that. But what that really truly is, it's just a website and they call it a workspace. So you go to this website and what we'll have done is I'm loading the repository reports that are in OB right now, right? I'm recreating those and loading those into that. And so you'll just go there and you'll click on them and then you'll actually download them to your desk and then manipulate them all you want from there. So really it's just a website, but you do have to have access to it and permissions to go in there. And then I'm going to demonstrate it on the documentation on how you go in and just click on that stuff and export it. Now, there are a lot of other features that you can do with workspaces, such as you can create your own for your own agency. You can schedule reports and those kind of things. So I'm going to get into a little bit of that in the training and the documentation. But yeah, it's just a website. That's where we're going to house all our repository works. Other questions?
I don't see any more. Maybe give it a second.
Wow.
There's questions for Datamart. No.
All right.
Thank you, Aaron. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. First off, wanted to thank the folks that decided to come into the DAS training room today for in-person. We thank you. Second off, I did want to just recap that all websites are having an accessibility review. So if you have forms or looking at any information within the SFMS website, please continue to use the SFMS website. You will see form updates, page updates, and information updates on the website. But that's going to be key, using that to ensure that you have the most up-to-date information and forms. So, and also a little side note with that, please be patient with us as we are having to change some of the background formatting and information sources. So we are doing our best to ensure that links and it's all still functioning, but if we miss anything along the way, please just reach out and let one of the SFMS team know, and we will try to address that as soon as possible. That is turning into a very large project for all the information that we have available on our website. So please be patient with us in that. And thank you for your time today.